let's say this is a completed drawing. Go to File, Save As. You select Adobe PDF. You can choose a range, right? So I can print the third artboard. I'm using artboards right now, so I select third one. I hit Save. So the file that I'm going to print, I want it to be good quality, so I could do high quality print. That will apply no compression to the file. And also, since this is illustrated, we want to have marks and bleeds, right? Marks and bleeds are located under this print setting as well. So under General, I mean, we're not changing any of these. I'm just applying a preset, which is high quality print. Then I go to Marks and Bleeds, and I wanted to click on All Printers Marks. You can eventually just do trim marks, which is basically those lines that you use for trimming the foam board and the artboard together. And that's all you have to do. Then you save your PDF, right? So I'll just do this. I'll do Save PDF, and that file is created here. Let me see. So that's this file basically, right? So I have printing marks as well, and I have one artboard. When you're uploading those files on T-Square, if the file size is too large, you should save another copy of it, and you can do the same operation. Go to File, Save As, and select PDF, and rename this as Section Small, or Submission, whatever. Choose the same artboard. Hit Save. Your submission on T-Square doesn't need to have the marks and bleeds because it's just a digital copy of your file, right? You're just sending it, uploading it on T-Square, and the PDF preset doesn't have to be high quality print so that the file size isn't too large for upload. Just select smallest file size. When you do smallest file size, save it. Illustrator is going to apply compression to it, so you will save a little bit of file size. So you see the first one was 2 megabytes, the second one is 288 kilobytes. And when I open the second one, I still see kind of the overall drawing, right? But this may be pixelated when I try to print it. So that's kind of difference. So for me to grade it, this is all I need to see. I just need to see what you have done as an image, as a representation, because I'm going to look at your physical copies as well. So when you print them, use no compression, cutting marks, but when you upload them, just save another copy. You don't have to add the trim marks, and just make it smallest file size possible so that upload takes less time. That's what I wanted to cover. No, you don't have to resend. You already uploaded, but all I'm saying is when I tried to download all the assignment attachments, it was 2 gigabytes. Like, it took me 30 minutes to download the file. So if they were 2 megabytes, it would have taken like less than a minute, right? And also, if you try to send them to me via email, you'll be like, what do you call it? You'll be blocking my email account because you're sending a 200 megabyte file to my email, and then I get a message saying that I'm out of my mail quota. So I won't be receiving any more emails after your email. So don't do that, okay? All right. So for the poet's house, our units are in inches again. What was the overall dimension for the wall? 13 by 18? 13 by 21. Okay. So if I go to an elevation view, and I hit Object Snap Options, and I want to choose some of these, like endpoints, near, midpoints, and I'm going to enable Project. Now when I draft something here, it's going to be drawn on the plane, on the vertical plane, right? And I'm going to also enable Grid Snap and Ortho, so that everything is perpendicular, and I can snap to the grid. So I'm going to go to the Line Tool, start from the origin. This is 13 by 21, and 13, and wait, 13, 21, 13, and close. So when I double click to my right view and look at it in perspective view, when project is on, everything I'm drafting will be drafted on that plane, right? So let's keep it as like a datum for your modeling extrusions, because you're kind of keeping the model as your starting, the wall as your starting point, and then you're extruding stuff off of it or displacing them from it, right? So this is how I would go about it. So I could just extrude this guy. Sure, I can explain the C-planes as well, but this is kind of what the C-plane is too. So when I'm in one of these orthographic views, so it's like if I'm doing front view, do you guys see this red line? That's the x-coordinate plane. So if you look at here, the red is x, the green is y, and we don't see z, which is normally in blue. It goes up. So when you look at the front view, if you have project on, everything that I'll be drafting will be drafted on this x-plane here, xz plane, right? So if I try to draw a rectangle here, you see it draws it on that plane. If I draw something on the right view, it will draw it on y plane, yz plane. So if I draw another rectangle here, it will be drafted on that plane. If I do it on top view when the project is on, it will be on xy plane, right? So it kind of takes off the other axis. It takes it as 0, right? So if I'm doing top view, I'm basically entering x and y values, and z is kept at 0 because I'm in project mode. Like I'm in projection. I'm projecting onto that plane. So whatever I'm drafting is z is kept 0, right? And if I do it on right view, x is kept 0, right? It's yz plane. Look up here. It's yz plane. So x is kept 0. If I do front view, y is 0. So it's xz plane. Okay? And what I would do is basically you can draft, like let's say there are major extrusions, you can draft it here. So you could come in, let's say 5 inches off of here, go down, maybe there's 3 inches, and then 4 inches this way, and then 4 inches this way. So you can draft these lines here, then come in with rectangles. Don't forget, I'm still in project mode. What does it mean? Everything I'm drafting is happening on this plane. So there is no three-dimensionality. It's just 2D drafting. And then I can take these, and then I can extrude them. So let's say I extrude this guy, and then I can also move them. So I want to move this guy off of this plane. I can move in this direction. What is the height? Let's say 5 inches. Right? Then I can do... so what's the thickness of these? Is it 1/8? It's 316. So I'll do scale 1D, because they look a bit thick to me. Scale 1D. So this guy has to be 3/16. And this guy has to be 3/16 as well. Right, so I can choose those edges and scale them up and down. And I'm going to... The other option is, like for instance, you can just copy these guys and then use them as boxes, right? And when you're doing scale 1D operations, make sure that you're selecting a perpendicular edge to the box, right? If I select a diagonal by accident, if I click on the wrong point, let's say my reference is that diagonal, I'll be stretching it diagonally, so it will distort the box, right? So if I choose this and do the stretching, look at what happens when I stretch it down. Okay? If you have open extrusions like this, you can just select the geometry, type in cap. It will just add the end faces to the geometry. So it's solid. It's solid. You could do Boolean to it, basically. Yeah. Quarter is 4/16, right? So the difference is 1/16. I think it should be fine. You could do quarter. It would be fine. Otherwise, I mean, most of the time I want you to do snaps on the 3D geometry itself. Like do the major elements with numeric values. So let's say you know the distance of this plane with this plane, so you can enter 5 as displacement. Then you can use a solid model as a reference to do the walls on the sides, right? So for instance, I could just grab this guy, make a copy of it, and then go to scale 1D option, and then select this edge, and then I can also select any reference point, right? So because right now I'm stretching it along this way, and it's asking me for a reference for a new x value. So I can grab a reference from this corner point of the plane. I don't have to enter a numeric value. I can just click on this corner, and I can tell it to snap it to that plane, right? So this is now flush to that plane. And I can do the same thing here. So I could grab this edge, and then that edge is right now 4 inches, and I want it to be 1/4. So I can enter that wall. Right? I can do a copy to the other side. From this corner to this corner. Right? So have some geometry that you can use, and then if you know something extends to it, use them as references. You don't have to just draft everything in 2D and extrude them. You should only draft a few of them, like major elements, major planes, and then the rest details you can just add them in your solid model, so save time by taking measurements of certain elements. Okay? Let me see. So I did units first, object units, inches, and then I went to an elevation view. Like you could do it in right view. So here, then I went to the elevation view, and I turned on project. So what project does is it enables me to snap to YZ plane, right? You see these coordinate systems, YZ plane? It just enables me to draft onto YZ plane. So everything I'm drafting has X as 0 value, right? So every point that I'm grabbing here when project is on has as X as 0 value. I mean, technically you could just use the grid, or you could just draw a grid and just use the points on the grid to snap to, right? If you have something modular going on. It will always be drafted. It will always be drafted here, so you will get these lines basically. Yeah, yeah. And let's do another one. So I went to this plane, and what I did was I did the overall wall that I had, right? So it was 13 by 21. So I drew a rectangle and then extruded it by the thickness of it, right? So let's say there's an opening inside the rectangle, which is, let's say, 4 by 4. So I can just do a 4 by 4 opening here. So I know this is the opening. I got this line for some reason. Right? Let's say I need a 4 by 4 opening here. Project is on still. I'm going to move it first to this corner, and let's say from this corner it's 5 inches in. So I could enter move, and I want to displace this guy by 5 inches. So I can enter any reference for the displacement. I don't have to select the geometry on the object. I could grab a reference point anywhere on the canvas. I could say move it, use this, look at where the cursor is. I want to grab a point here and enter 5 as displacement. Use this as a reference displacement. And then I enter 5, right? So now I got it over there. Now that curve is here. So maybe that's an opening. What I could do is extrude it. It needs to be a solid to do Boolean separation. So I'm going to cap it. And then I can do Boolean difference. So I want to split from this guy, this guy. I can create a 4 by 4 opening 5 inches in from this edge of the wall, right? So what I would recommend is you can do these like flush on this construction plane, right plane, when the project mode is on, so you know what you're doing is precise, and then you can find its placement in perspective view, so you can displace them off this plane, so you can move them away as well, right? Like if you're still not comfortable with modeling it directly in 3D. Most of you have louvers or something that repeats in your model, right? So let's say I have, going to turn project off for a bit. I'm going to grab this guy and make it 1/4, and then the depth, let's increase the depth, make it 1. Let's say I have an element like that, and then you have an array of it here, right? You guys remember the array we were talking about, like copies? So I could type in array. What does it say? It says select objects to array. This is the object I want to array. I want to copy. I enter to confirm. Now let's look at here. It says number in x direction. Look at the x direction. X direction goes this way. It will move it this way. How many copies do we need in x direction? We only need 1, right? We don't want multiple copies going in this way. We don't want multiple copies going in y direction either. We only want copies in going z direction, right? So number in x direction, I'm going to hit 1. Number in y, I'm going to hit 1 again. Number in z, let's say we want 5 in this way. So I'm going to hit 5. Now it says z spacing or first reference point. So you got some options here. If you know how much gap between them, you can enter the difference value. Let's say -1. And then when I hit -1, it will preview what it looks like with 1 inch difference in 5 of them, right? So it's giving me an array of 5 of them. And then if you want to confirm this, you can hit enter, and it will make the copy of the array. So I'm going to do this multiple times, so you will see what I'm doing. Yeah. Let me see. So you want it to, let's try another one. So let's do it this way again. X is 1, Y is 1, Z is, let's say, 6. Z spacing or first reference point. So if I choose here, it will already start placing them. Yes, I think it's it will be 0.75. So if I enter 0.75, I could like finish it. Z spacing or first reference point. Let me see. Array, this object XX, Z is 5, Z number 5. Z spacing or first reference point. So let's say we grab this point, second reference point, Z spacing or first reference point. It pretty much does the same thing. It only takes, like, it doesn't take the overall dimension and divide it up. It needs the spacing somehow, right? So my question was, if you do the length of that board instead of doing the math yourself, could you type in like 3/5 and 3 divided by 5? Sure, I think you will be able to do that. I think you will be able to do that. So if you do, let's say here, you're saying this length is 4. So I do array, this guy, 1, 1, Z is 5. Z spacing, I want it to be 4/5. Right? It has to be -5. -4/5 gives me that. But it still doesn't add it because you have to take into account its displacement, right? So my material also has some thickness. So you have to take that into account as well. So the way I did it was kind of going in between. So I did Z is 5. Then my preview is on, so I grab my reference point, this corner, and then I go down, and I know it's 4, so I'm kind of getting an estimate measurement here. So right now with 5, it's somehow around 0.9 something. Let me see. So the thing is, the material is 1 over 4. So we are technically dividing 3 into 5, I think. 3 into 4. Right, let me see. I'm making this more confusing. It's supposed to be simpler than that. This is 0.25 and this is 4. So 0.25 means, if I turn on the calculator, 0.25 times 5 is the thickness of the louvers that I'm going to have, and I need to subtract this from 4. So I have 2.75 divided by 4. So this is the value I need to enter for spacing, 0.6875. So if I do an array, I can select this as my reference, and from this I need to enter minus 0.6785 875 6875 plus 0.25 minus this is the actual value, 0.9, no, right? It fits perfectly now. I had to calculate it, but I mean you can kind of find it out. Huh? The command was array. So I'll do another one. I'll do another element here. So I'll come to the right view. So I'm going to draft another plane, let's say 10 inches by 2 inches. And this guy is going to be located here. No, I need vertical elements. Let's do vertical elements. So I'll come in here. Let me grab, let's say I need a 10 inch. I need this line. And then from here I go up there. Actually, turn on project. This is 6. This is the first line, so I'm going to have a plane here and then verticals going down, so maybe another one here. So I could just draw a box here. And use this box for the dimensioning. So I grab this, scale 1D. Let's say this is the top point of my plane. I'm going to turn off my project. Come down here. This edge is going to be 1 over 4. This edge, let's say, is going to be 12. So maybe it extends a bit. And then this edge is going to start from this side of the plane. And then its length is going to be, let's say, 5. So I got something like that. And then I'm going to make a copy of it. And then since I'm working in perspective, I can do a vertical copy as well, right? So when you do a copy, it's normally a horizontal XY displacement. But if you want to do a vertical copy, you can do copy and then choose vertical in the option. And then you can enter the displacement value. So you could come down here and put it here. Right? So now I have 2 planes. Now, I'll go to the right view. And what I will do is place a vertical louver and do the horizontal array this time. So I'm going to draw another box here. And then this guy, I do scale 1D. Come down here, this guy is going to be 1/4. And then the depth is going to be, let's say, 1 inch. Right, so I have something like this. And then I want this guy to span here in the space, right? So if I type in array, now look at the cursor here, XYZ cursor. What is my array direction? Can anybody tell me my array direction? Huh? Y, but positive or negative? Positive or negative? Has to be negative, right? Because I have to go this way. If you see the y-axis, positive y-axis is pointing towards this direction. So I have to go in the negative direction. So my x direction, number in x direction is going to be 1. Number in y direction, let's say 10. Number in z direction is, let's say, 1 again. Now my y spacing, I can enter, let's say, -1. And it shows me what it looks like with 10 copies with -1 displacement, right? And if I want to confirm, I'll right-click and confirm. So that's kind of will help you to do copied and precise spacing modeling. That's the array tool. Justin, what's the distance here? 40 feet? 200? 100? 104. 260. 104. 100 feet? 104, okay. So is this correct, Justin? 40, 54, 16, 24, 8, 24, 8. This is 104, 8, 24, 8, 32. Here? But it's within, oh, it's added to the 10. Okay. Offset D10. So this is basically, this is it. This is your site, right? Okay. Okay, I got it. And this building is 24, 24, 40. The adjacent buildings, they're 60 as well? These buildings here? What are the heights for these buildings? There's no building here? On the bottom side, but there's a building here. $24. 16 or 24? Huh? It's 24? So it's 24. So this is it. So the wall is 1/4 by 24? 13 by 21. 13 by 5 is 60, 75? Huh? 84 and 52 and 84. Okay, so this is the wall. So this is it. This is when you do it vertical. This is when you do it horizontal. So you can also float it a bit within this region. Is that so? Okay. So this is the area basically. So you guys want this to be in feet or inches? You're modeling in inches? You're modeling in feet? I'll just send out two models, one for feet and one for inches. Okay. Okay. to desktop. So these will be uploaded right now. So I have one model in feet and one model in inches. And they have the same layers, same model basically. So if you're choosing to model in feet or inches, you can use both of them. I mean, you can use either one of them. So this is the one in feet. This is the adjacent buildings. These are the two roads. This is the pavement. The pink area is your site. This is the park, and this is the building in the back. And I have some layers as well. So if you want to look at the dimensions again, dimensions are in this layer. Solid models are in this layer, so you can just lock them or hide them if you don't want to use them. Okay, and the other one is modeled in inches. So the modeling units are also different. So this one is in inches. So if you want to do in inches, it's the same thing. Okay, I'm going to upload both of them. You can just copy and paste it, and you'll bring in the layers as well. You can also do import. So t-square. This one is, I'm going to design mine in inches. Okay, so I go to units, inches. Going to the right view, I'm going to keep my design linear. What was it, 13 by 21? So I'm going to make my stairs a bit fancy. I'm going to make them, like I'm going to use the wall as support. Is that okay? Are doing that? Let's see. So basically, how tall is going to be one level? So 1 inch equals 1 foot? 4 feet. Okay, that's correct. 1 inch equals 4 feet. Then 2 inches is one level. Is that? 2 inches is one level? Something like that. Okay. So it will be, these will be somehow abstract levels, right? 1/4 inch equals 1 foot. So it will be 1/8 is the height for the staircase, right? So one staircase is going to be 1/8, and it's going to be 1/4. So this is one step. Is that correct? 1/8 and 1/4. And then what I would do is take these and see how many of them I need to reach to this level. So this is one. So I'm going to join these guys. And then I need a surface and landing around these. So let's go down by 1/4 again. And here let's do it this way. Let's draw a diagonal line here. And then this guy, I can move it here. So the slabs are 1/4, right? So the stair has to meet 1/4 face here, right? This guy is 1/4 in thickness, so that it will meet a slab with the same thickness. And this is going to be on the ground, and this has to be 1/4 as well. Trim. So this is kind of what I need to have for one riser. So it will come from 1/4 slab here, and it will go to 1/4 slab here. Is that correct? Huh? This is 0.25, this is 0.25. I'm doing in inches. So if I look up here, one step is 0.25 and one riser is half of that. So it doesn't have the decimal, but this is half of, like, this is 0.12.5, 125. And I have 2, 4, 6, 8 of those to go from one level to the other, right? So this is all I need. And this guy is a joint. This needs to be a joined outline. So I drafted this in 2D and I'm going to join this guy. And if I go to the perspective view, my wall is going to be here, and then I'm going to have a staircase next to it. So extrude curve. Let me see, I have a bunch of overlapping curves somewhere. Okay, I had two curves there. Extrude curve. I'm going to make it solid, and I'm going to extrude it this way by 1 inch. 1 inch is 4 feet, right? So this is one, like, half step riser for my staircase. And this is my wall. So my wall is going to be 0.25. So this is my wall. And this riser is going to be located here. So this is going to be, I can move it from here to there. So it's going to be located there. And then I'm going to have a landing here. And then the landing is basically, I can just model a box here. Let's model a box. Doesn't matter what the box dimensions are. Then I'm going to do scale 1D. Make this depth 1 inch. And make this depth to be flush with this staircase here. So I basically have something that comes in, and then the thickness of it, the thickness of the staircase is also applied in the depth of the in the depth of the landing. So this guy is 1 inch overall, right? That's correct. Now I take this guy, take my staircase, I'm going to rotate it by 90 degrees, and I'm going to put this guy exactly at the spot. So basically I can come from the ground level, take half step here, landing another half, and meet the second level. Okay? Does everybody see that? So I'm going to have ground here. So the stuff that goes underneath, I'm not going to see it. But I just modeled this guy as a block so that I can keep reusing it. Because I'm always going to have either like half level rising, or I'm going to do two-fold stairs like this. And if you want to keep reusing them, just grab these guys. You can either join them or you can do group. So now this guy, I can make a copy, choose vertical, and I could enter 2 inches. So now I have two stairs lined up there around the wall. And for the sake of visualizing the levels, I'm going to also add some level planes so that we could just orient ourselves a bit better. So I'm going to have a plane here, minus 0.25, and then another plane here. Right, so those are the two levels on this side. And I'm going to have basically this guy penetrating. So this guy is going to penetrate through the other side as well. And probably I need to have some openings so that I can keep reusing the staircase, right? So think of it like a stairwell. So if I come in here and I need to go up one more level, I need to go through this wall. So I need to have an opening there. And I'm going to add this guy. Just adding like level planes for reference for now. Okay? I'm going to go to an elevation view. I'm going to add a bunch more. So if you're doing vertical displacement in an elevation view, I would recommend not snapping from the geometry itself, but having just a reference somewhere outside of the geometry. Or if you want to snap to the actual geometry, use project, so that you're not grabbing some, grabbing a point on the geometry and then snapping it to somewhere else. So that when you have project on, these displacements would be precise, and they will just have vertical, they will shift the geometry vertically. So I'm going to do 2, 4, 6, 8. So I think these are the levels we have, right? Now I already grouped my stairs. What I'm going to do is mirror one in this view and bring it over to the other side, and maybe the second steps, I have another stairwell, but this guy is not at the end. Maybe it's a bit inside, so let's bring it in by 2 feet, and I'm going to locate it somewhere here, and I'll basically cut this out from the geometry too. And let's make some copies here as well. So this will be my last level. So I have some steps here and then some stairs there. So when I look at my 3D now, this is what I have, right? And these guys, I'm going to stretch them down a bit. So I do scale 1D, choose these edges, and bring them down here. And I'm not going to have this level here. I'm just making some design decisions basically, right? So this guy will go up to here. So I'll start from here, start rising, and then go through. Maybe there's a big opening here, and then access the other stairs, and the other stairs I'll keep going up basically. And some of these could be double height spaces as well. So I'm just going to make these adjustments. Now, I need an opening here for the staircase to work, and I need another opening here for the other staircase to work, so that the other side of the landing, the landings here are connected, so I can keep rising, right? So I need to draft those lines basically. So I'm going to come in here, draw a line, and then draw a 2-inch opening here. This will be an opening there. I'm going to do the same thing here. So 8-inch. No, wait, let's do project. Come down here. So this would be 8-inch opening, 2 inches, 8 inches down. So I have these 2 openings now to add to my wall. I'm going to do extrude curve. I'm going to choose both sides and keep solid. So these are kind of abstract geometries I can subtract from my wall. Does everybody see them? So I'm kind of going to puncture those out so that I could have another landing for my stairs. Right? So I do Boolean difference. I choose my wall, right click, and then I choose these 2 and have those openings added. So now if I'm here, I can use the staircase, come out here and then go through and come up here, right? So it's kind of connecting the staircases. Otherwise, the wall will be separating them. And the same thing on the other side. But I also need to have another one added here, right? So let's add that one as well. So I come here. This landing needs to be connected to. So I come in here. Project mode is on because I want to draft onto my wall. And I have grid snap on as well. So I could just basically snap to the grid. Add this geometry. This could be actually slightly lower because it's a landing, but I'm just going to keep it as is. And I'm just extruding that curve. I want to extrude it both sides and make it solid. I'm going to do Boolean difference, split this guy and that guy. Okay? That's a nice staircase. Landing I'm modeling in inches, so I used 1 inch overall, so it's 4 feet. 4 feet is like a nice dimension for a corridor. I think 2 people will be able to walk side by side. Okay? So this is where I am. You guys want me to model? Like keep modeling? Designing? Yeah. Yeah. Question. She's saying if I have multiple lines drafted already. So let me say, like, I have another line here, maybe another line here, maybe some line here. And for the sake of looking at them, like some of them are located here. If I do select curve, these are my lines. So this line is off, right? And if I want to put all of them on the same plane, I could type in set point. And what value of these lines I want to be leveled. So let's think about that. So if you look up here to the gimbal, we have x going this direction, y going this direction, and z going this direction. So I want to pull all of their x values to be the same, right? So all I have to do here is disable set y and set z and just enable set x. And then when I hit OK, Rhino is going to ask me to select the next value. And if I enter 0, they're going to be pulled to YZ plane, where x is 0. So I say OK. So you see now it's giving me all the lines projected onto an x plane. And it's asking me to choose an x value. I could hit 0. And all the lines will be projected onto the x plane with that command. You can do the same operation in top view by selecting set z. So you'll be just projecting them onto the xy plane. Okay. So let's do this. I'm going to first decide on my spaces. So I'm going to do scale 1D again. Define where my corridors are, where my main spaces are, and just go off from that. Right. So maybe here, this guy is just a corridor. So I'm going to limit their depth to this opening here, right? So this becomes just the stairwell, and maybe this is just like the whole wall, and this is the ground plane. So maybe I'll use it to define some spaces. So I'm just going to reduce this to be 8 inches this way, and I'm going to make it 4 inches is fine this way, I think. So let's do 4 this way. So there's going to be some space here. And then I'm going to start with the staircase, rise twice, and then maybe take this corridor on this side. And then I can have access to additional spaces here and then use this stairwell. And I'm going to do the same division here. So this is maybe limited to this. And then there's another space on. There's going to be another space on top. So this guy could be, again, I'm just like limiting my corridors first, and then I'm going to have extrusions off of them. Okay? And I want to have like more openings as well. I want this wall to be as transparent as possible. So let's think of adding some more surfaces. So you could also do, like, think of, like, we are taking these subtractions, right, from the wall. Maybe they're displaced. So you can also think about it that way. So I already have a curve here. So I could do an extrude curve, 1 over 4. And this guy is maybe extrude curve, 0.25, both sides, no. And this guy, I'm going to locate it here, right? And I want to have it maybe going down. So I'm going to make it flush here. And I could also use it partially like a parapet wall. So maybe this is, move it up a bit. So I'm typing it move and vertical. Maybe this is 1. So it's kind of going to be a parapet wall there, right? And then maybe I have some more divisions there. I don't know yet. I'm going to do the similar thing here. So I'm going to make a copy, bring this guy down to here, and I want to move this one up to this level, scale 1D, and this guy will be here. Actually, let's have this as a vertical wall running all the way up here. So I have now 2 walls. Okay, so it's kind of like going to block this area. I'm just adding some features to my design. Can we do anything here, or are there like limitations? Huh? As long as it's within the site. I mean, I'm still within the site plan. Okay, so this is going to be located vertically. So let's get to 13.5. Actually, let me show you how you can bring in your site. So this was my site model, and this one is in feet. So let me open the one in inches. File, open, and I'm going to open the one in inches. This guy is in inches. So I'm going to grab to this stuff, Control C to copy to clipboard, come down here, make sure that you're using the same models. So this is in inches, this is in inches. I'm going to come in here and do paste. And it will just add the new layers. And my site model is there. So I've been modeling into this default layer. What I'm going to do is lock the actual site and dimensions, maybe hide the dimensions. And then place this guy somewhere in the site. So if you want to select all the stuff you have modeled into one layer, you can just go to the layer, right click, and do select objects. It will just give you in selection all the objects that are in that layer. And then I want to locate this guy somewhere around the middle of my landscape. So let's say somewhere there. And since I didn't have project on, it snapped to the ground, right? So what I want to do now is move it and have project on and choose this plane and then choose here so that I'm kind of getting the ground plane. Right, so that's how my wall is going to be located in the site. Okay? It's kind of in the middle. So let's now think of what I want to do is unlock the site solid, select this extrusion, and let's create a new layer, call it site base, and put that in that layer, site base. And then afterwards I want to hide the site model so that I can just have that overall dimension and use it. Yeah, no problem. Oh, you have a question? So I've been talking about construction planes today, right? So the three default construction planes are XZ, YZ, and XY. Right? And what do they mean? That means basically there's a construction plane system with 3 planes, and then you can draft onto these. Now if you go to the C-planes tab, C-planes allows you to set up a new construction system anywhere at any alignment so that you can directly draft onto it. Okay? So for instance, if I want to draft onto this plane, I could set up a C-plane there and draft onto it directly. So that I won't have to draft onto XY and then bring it over by extrusion or any other operation. So I'll be directly drafting on a custom C-plane that I define. So I'll try to do that now. So let's say I go to C-planes. What I want to do is choose, let's look at one of these options. So by default, we're using the world construction plane. So the set C-plane world top will set this world plane. So that will be how you get back to your default C-planes, this guy here. Set C-plane world top. Now what I want to do is set a C-plane aligned to this object here. So I'm going to use C-planes and then choose set C-plane to surface. It's the third one available. When I do that, it says select surface to orient C-plane to, and I'm going to carefully choose this extrusion surface. And then it's going to ask me to choose an origin, and I'm going to choose this corner of that geometry. And then it's going to ask me to do x-axis and y-axis. I think if you just right-click, it will just align it using the geometry itself. So by default, it will create a plane. So now if you look at what I have, my current C-plane is aligned to that surface, right? So what does this mean now? So this means now that if I draft something, I'll be directly drafting onto that plane, right? So if I come in here, grab a rectangle in perspective view, and draft anywhere. So let's say enable project. Let me see. If I turn on project and draw a rectangle, look at where the rectangle is drafted. It's drafted on that plane, right? So if I grab line tool and come down here and then go this way, let's say 5, go down 5, go left 5, and then hit C for close, I'm directly drafting this onto that C plane. Okay? I'm basically using the new coordinate system to draft onto it. And now I'm going to do extrude. Extrude curve. This is going to be a space here. So let's say that extrusion, and this is my site. So maybe I go all the way up here. I'm going to turn off project and choose here. So maybe there's going to be a space there that deep. You can use similar commands we showed before. So go to solid tools, you can choose shell, close polysurface. So maybe I want to do a shell here. Actually, let's align this guy somewhere here first. I want to move it perpendicularly here. My ortho is on. My sneer, let's turn it off. Okay. So I'm kind of trying to place it right here. That's kind of the solid I have. And it's actually too deep. So let's do scale 1D. And I want it to end right under this stairwell here. So I'm going to grab this as a reference. So that's kind of that solid there. And I'm going to do shell command. And I want to choose 1, 2, 3, and 4. Let me see. 1, 2, and 3. Let's choose these 3 surfaces. And the thickness needs to be 1/4, I think. So I get that. Right? So I added that space there now. So this is kind of a solid object. I think you can also do C-planes for levels. So if I want to draft on the top surface here, I could do C-planes, do set C-plane to surface. I'm going to choose the top surface of this geometry that I just added and see what happens. If I choose this origin, now my coordinate system is aligned to the top surface of that geometry. So I could technically draft over here. So what I'm going to do is draw, again, use my polyline tool, come in here. Let's do some louvers. So I go by 1.25, 1 and close. So this is kind of one louver, and I'm going to space it by 1. Extrude curve, I'm going to extrude it here. Scale 1D. This guy comes down here. So that's kind of a louver I have. And I'm going to do an array. Array in X direction, I need to array in Y direction. X direction is 1, Y direction is 5, Z direction is 1. and I want to choose this as my reference. And okay, so let's go to world top first. When you're using seaplanes, it will also change your XYZ coordinate system. So if you want to do arrays using this gimbal here, you should always go back to world top. Set seaplane to world top basically sets it to the default XYZ orientation. So then you can do an array. After you draft a geometry, just go back to the default. So Y I want 5, Z is 1, and this reference I want it to be something like this. And this last one, I'm going to do scale 1D and move it up and down. So that's kind of what I have there. Okay? I added an extrusion there. Let's add another one. Let me show you. So I'm just going to add some of these for today. Let's see. So let me go over to seaplane again. So let's do another seaplane. I'm going to set up a new seaplane, a new construction plane on this level here and on this corner. So what it does is basically now I can draft onto that level directly. So if I come in with my polyline, I can draft onto that level. And let's say this is an extrusion as well. I'm going to extrude this curve all the way here, and this guy goes down. And I'm going to switch the world top. So my coordinate system is reset. And then I'm going to make an array. So I do array. I want to make an array in Y direction. So Y, let's say 10. And spacing is 1. So I add these elements there. So basically I can come in here and climb up here. There's a space there. So maybe we could add some more features here. So let's do another box here. So I'm going to copy this guy, or just smaller box, the smaller one here, and I want it to go all the way to the site, and underneath or over these blocks here. So let's say I have a box here, and the dimensions for that space is going to be, let's say 6 by 6. What I have here, 5.5. That's fine. And this guy, let's do shell again. I want to remove these faces, these 3 faces. So I get something like that. The shell command goes inside the box. So if you guys see this, this is keeping the level above. So what you need to do is you have to compensate for that thickness to be added. So if I want it to be flush, I need to go in, like height-wise, make this 0.425. So I go inside the landscape a bit. So when I do the shell, it will be flush here, right? So I do my shell again. So like this face, and this face. So now this guy is perfectly flush to the ground, right? So I have a space there. And let's see, so maybe I come in here. What else do we add? Maybe this is double. Should we make it double? Something like this. Maybe it's broken up, and maybe these guys go down, right? So this guy maybe is flush here, and these guys go all the way down. So I can take these and snap them to the ground. So that's kind of what's happening there. Huh? Yeah, I mean you can do so much stuff with it. I'm going to grab this surface as well and put it here. And maybe this is like a plane. Scale 1D, and this guy goes all the way up here. And maybe it's a bit larger. So scale 1D again. Maybe it covers my steps. So maybe it's something like this I have. Right? And this surface, I'm going to extend it a bit more. I'm going to extend it all the way to these louvers. So it's kind of, I'm snapping to actual geometry I already have inside the mold. Right? And this guy, let's copy it vertically. Well, I already have something here, so maybe not there. But I can make a copy up here as well. To the top of this guy. And that's basically, it's looking good. So maybe here these surfaces could extend, or I could have another opening through them, right? So if I want to add an opening to this surface, you can use the C-plane. So do the C-plane to surface, set C-plane to surface, choose this surface, right click, yeah. I went to the C-planes, and then I'm choosing set C-plane to surface, and then I'm choosing this C-plane here, and then choose a corner of it, and then right click. You will be adding a construction plane onto that surface. So when I'm now drafting, I'll be drafting directly on that plane. Right, so if my opening is, let's say 4, let's say it's a bit larger, let's say it's 8 by 1, I can draft it on that plane, and then I can line it up. So let's say 2 inches off of this way. I'm also checking kind of the opening in the back, so it kind of lines up with the opening in the back. So maybe that's the opening. I'm going to do extrude. So I do the solid extrusion, and then Boolean difference. I want to separate from this guy, this guy. So now I have that opening there. Okay? I actually don't like it. So I'm going to move this down by, let's move it down by 2 inches. So I'm going to switch to world top, hit move, choose the geometry, select vertical, choose any reference point, and then hit -2. And then do Boolean difference again. So now my opening is right there. It's kind of nicely exposing that area. So I'm kind of adding more planes basically to my design. Okay, so if you have issues like this, look. Basically, there are 2 surfaces that are flush on this level, right? So this guy and this guy are overlapping. What you could do is like separate them, right? So I could do Boolean difference. I can select these 2 and turn off delete input. So select delete input as no. And then the one I want to subtract is this guy. So you can just like subtract whatever is intersecting with another geometry, so you can have like clean stuff, right? So this side is, I think, pretty okay. Well, I could add more openings to my wall, so maybe I add another opening here. So I'm going to do that in an elevation view. So I can turn on my project again, come down here. Maybe this opening is somewhere here. So I go by 4. Actually, it's going to be too much. So let's go up by 2. And then go in by 8. And then come down by 2. Close. So that curve is drafted here. Let me see where it's drafted. Why did it draft it there? So let me do it again. Project is on. Let's go up by 2, 8, 2 down, and close. Oh yeah, this is the correct plane. So it's basically drafting it to YZ plane, right? So I'm going to extrude my curve. So I want to subtract the solid block as well. So I do Boolean difference, and I have another opening there. Something like that. So maybe these guys could go up a bit so that they act like balustrades. So I could choose some of these, do scale 1D, and stretch these edges by 4 more feet. So let's say by 1 more inch, so I can just move them up. So these guys would be basically 5 inches. So similar stuff here. This edge would be there, and this edge would be 5. And these guys, I could move them all the way up. Right, so kind of like acting like a balustrade. It's not a real balustrade, but at least it's helping compositionally to add more features. Let me see if I think this side is fine as is. This side, maybe we could add some more horizontal elements. So maybe there are more horizontal elements going in another direction. So let's say we add them. So I'm going to copy this wall by 4, and then I'm going to rotate it perpendicularly this way, and I'm going to move it in by 1/4 so that it's like lining up like that. And I'm not sure if you can see this, but it doesn't line up with this element in elevation, so maybe we want to keep them lined up. So if I want to line them up, I could do this in an orthographic view with project on, so that I could make this alignment without snapping it to the geometry, so that I'm entering kind of a nominal value in an elevation. And then I'm going to copy this here and scale 1D. Let's say this way it's going to be 1. The thickness is going to be 0.25, and then this guy is basically going to go all the way to that surface. And I want to add an array here, so let's add an array. Choose this guy. Copies in x direction 1, copies in y direction 1, z direction, let's say 10, and I'm going to hit -1. So I get something like this. Right? So maybe these guys, maybe this wall is also a bit longer. So now I can increase the size of it. So I do something like this on that side. And let's see, maybe we can add another box here. So I'm going to click on the box, and this guy is going to go probably under here, and then scale 1D. Let's do this side by 6, and I'm going to do a shell again. I'm going to choose this side. Oh, don't forget to do 0.25. Don't forget to add that 0.25. 3.25. So when we do the shell, we get the ground planes lined up. I also need to select the inner face. If you want to work on an individual geometry, you can isolate it by using the visibility. So let's say I want to isolate this guy temporarily and hide everything else. If you go to Visibility tab, if you hit this button, Invert Selection and Hide Objects, it will basically isolate that element you want to work on. And when you finish modeling it, you could just hit the light bulb again to bring up everything else, right? This is kind of temporarily turning an object on and off in terms of visibility. So if I want to hide something that I've already modeled, let's say this wall is done, I could hit this turned off light bulb and it will hide it temporarily, right? Or maybe I'm done with this one, or I don't want to see them right now. I could just like hide them so I can see more details behind them. And when I add those details, I could just hit the light bulb and bring them in. So if I want to isolate this guy so I can work on that, I can do this. So I select a geometry or multiple geometries I want to work with, or I want to keep the relationships. Maybe I need to see them. I can hit this one, and it will just isolate this guy for me. So I know I want to shell this surface. So I could choose shell, and I'm going to choose these 4 surfaces. So I get something like this. And when I'm done with this guy, I could hit just the light bulb, and I could see it again. There's still a bit more intersection here, so I'm going to do Boolean difference, and this guy is added. Right, so I have something like this. So let's see how it looks like in the site. So it looks like this in the site. So these guys are flush with that wall. This guy is here. I have these elements added there. What do you guys think? It's okay? B minus? Alright, so I think this is good. This is good. So let's see. Here's what I want to check. Here's what I want to check. So let's say if we can walk continuously on this design. So I have some spaces here. Then I can use the staircase. I can access I can't access this space. So maybe I can extend this guy here. So I could do scale 1D. Maybe this guy goes in a bit more. So at least I get some more space there. Right? So I'm adding this space here. Do you guys see? Let me show you something. So here I have half level. Right? I have a level here. I have another level here. And maybe I want to access to that level as well. So when I'm investigating my model, I could actually get there somehow. Although I already have a corridor above my head. So maybe we can resolve that issue. So I can grab this half stair. I'm going to ungroup. I'm going to grab this guy, copy it, choose this corner, and I'm going to bring it down here. And I want to extend this surface up to there. So I'm going to copy any type of solid and put it there, scale 1D. And I can basically now use this corridor and access that half space there, right? Or maybe I want to hide this a bit. I mean, this could be located behind here as well, because this is kind of a weird corner, right? It's like coming in and then doing a half rise. It's looking a bit weird. So let me just fix it in elevation. So I'm going to go to an elevation view that sees it. It will be probably the left view, this view. I'm going to turn on project on so that every displacement I'm doing on this plane, things will be kept lined up. So I'm going to move this end point to be here so that the staircase will be somehow hidden behind these elements. And then I'm going to move this guy up here and then do a scaling to it so that my stair is connected. So when I look at my model, I'm kind of taking these steps away, steps up. And let me fix this end as well. And this end. So I'm going to make a copy of it, bring it here. I'm doing this operation inside the geometry, but basically I've added this kind of relationship. Now the problem is there is another surface above that staircase, right? So now I only have a couple feet here, so I cannot technically use this corridor. So this guy needs to be eliminated. So what I can do is only allow it on the other side of the wall. So this guy goes on this side of the wall, and then I can add just a little bit of landing to that side. So I'm now doing like minor design operations. So I'm kind of extending this side of the landing. Right? So now let's see. I come in here, take the steps, go 2 levels up, come in here, and then I can basically access this space. I'm inside the model now, like going around, so I can technically get up there. If I keep going, I reach to this level, and then I can use this balcony, go through the corridor, use this balcony, go through this corridor, and I'm already accessing this space from this side, so that's fine. I can take these steps and go up. I can access this space here. Maybe this could be a bit larger on this side so that this surface lines up perfectly. So I could add another block there. So I'm just going to model another block. It's like doing this sort of like additions just by adding some boxes to the model basically. Right, so I'm adding another surface there just to extend it. I can access this space as well, go up and access this space. And then that actually runs all the way to the back and extends here, which is fine. And then if I keep one more level up, I can reach to the final terrace level. And above here, I'm going to delete this guy so that these lowers are like lined up here. Okay. We are going to, for tomorrow, have your designs ready. We're going to have the site model integration as well. So you're going to place them in your site model, right? So I want to have something like that by tomorrow, by 1 p.m. So basically, your designs has to be done because this is due Wednesday, right? You will have to do drafting. So it would be nice if you have already modeled them so that you could have drafting. Do you guys need me to go over them again? Like I have to cut sections, elevations. Maybe I can do that tomorrow as well, briefly. Because I'm not going to have you request you to do orthographic set for this assignment. We're just going to do ISOs, isometric drawings, which are basically, if you go to these viewports, right-click to this viewport, go to Set View, Isometric. We're going to choose 2 opposite corners. So let's say northeast. What happened? Set view. It's somehow closed on me. I don't know why. So this view doesn't see much. So I could go to view. Let's see. Set view. Isometric. Northwest. This view sees better. Right? So I'm going to have some viewport set like this. Then for now I'm going to just hide all the curves I have, and then we're going to select these models, type in make 2D, I'm just going to do current view and hit OK. So we're going to get isometric line drawings, and then we're going to work with these. Yes, we're going to work with these tomorrow. So basically, tomorrow will be a lot of precision with these geometries. So here's the important thing. Look at my outlines. You can see every other outline of my geometries clearly, right? If you have something penetrating through something else, you'll be missing these edges, right? If this guy was going through this surface and there's no intersection between them, you'll be missing these two curves. So it will look something like this when you do make 2D. Then you will have to add those edges manually or fix those drawings. Or you could simply have a face-to-face solid model built, which is precise, so that when you do make 2D, you get every geometry drafted correctly. Yes, so there's a mistake here, basically. Well, you could fix it here too, right? So I could basically add an extension line here, and then I could do a fillet. Don't forget this is a 2D drawing. And radius 0, I could just add that edge here. These two lines I'm not supposed to see, so I'm going to delete them. We will do a little bit of cleanup here as well. Like these lines came from another intersection with a plane behind, I need to clean them up. This line shouldn't exist because this is a continuous surface, right? So if there is no division of surfaces like these edges, they need to be cleaned up. So you need to prepare these drawings basically. So maybe this line has to be deleted, these geometries have to be deleted, right? So all I want to see is like some clean geometry here. And then the next thing is we're going to set up some line weights, some layers. So overall geometries will be thicker, drafted thicker, and then inner details will be drafted thinner. And then we will do a little bit of layering and shadowing and shading in Illustrator as well. So that's kind of how these assignments are going to go. Okay? Say what? Did I what? Site model. Yes, I did it with the site model. No, it's uploaded on T-Square. Yeah, it's uploaded on T-Square. Viewport layout, 4 viewports. Yes. So let me see. This guy, 23 by 23. Is that 11 inches? So it's going to look something like this. Okay? And we're going to do cropping and shading in Illustrator. So, like what I'm showing here is just a preview. this will be done in Illustrator as well, with a clipping mask. So tomorrow I'm going to go over live paint and clipping mask in Illustrator mostly, and then line weights.